Being a gladiator in ancient Rome meant living permanently on the edge between death and eternal glory. To the public, they were admirable fighters. To the empire, a guaranteed spectacle. And to themselves, more often than not, simple survivors. Despite short and violent lives, a few of these men achieved something rare: immortality through fame. Their bouts, triumphs, and even their downfalls echoed through the centuries, preserved in verse, mosaics, sculpture, and even street graffiti. They were a unique blend of athlete, performer, and martyr, adored by emperors and acclaimed by the people. In this video, you'll meet the 10 most emblematic gladiators of the Roman Empire. In the forgotten corners of Pompeii, buried under Vesuvius's fury, archaeologists found traces of a past that refused to fade. Messages scratched into walls for a name that would not be erased: Tetraites. He wasn't an emperor or a senator, yet his feats in the arena struck such a chord that ordinary people commemorated him with the humblest tools: nails and charcoal. Graffiti from the 1st century recounts his decisive victory over an opponent named Prudes. Though little is known about that duel, it was so memorable that his fame crossed borders. Tetraites fought as a myrmio, distinguished by a large rectangular shield, a short sword, and an imposing helmet. Most striking of all was his boldness. He fought without chest protection, trusting entirely in his defensive skill and agility. Every time he stepped into the arena, he accepted extreme risk, and perhaps that's what made him so fascinating. His renown spanned seas and mountain ranges. Pottery and objects bearing his name and image have been found as far away as Gaul, Britannia, and Pannonia, today's France, the United Kingdom, and Hungary, proof that his popularity reached international dimensions, something highly unusual for a gladiator of that era. We don't know for certain how many fights he won, but his mark is literally carved into the walls of an entire city. In 1st century Rome, few names stirred the stands like Spiculus. What made him truly exceptional wasn't only his prowess, but his extraordinary relationship with the most powerful man in the world, Emperor Nero. Spiculus won Nero's favor with courage and immaculate performances. He wasn't just a victorious fighter, he became the emperor's favorite. Known for extravagance and theatrical impulses, Nero displayed his admiration in the most opulent way possible, granting Spiculus luxurious residences, vast estates, and great wealth, rewards unimaginable for someone of such humble origins. Most gladiators were slaves or prisoners of war, but Spiculus broke the mold, living like a true celebrity at the heart of imperial power. Nero's fascination ran so deep that, in his final hours, when the regime was collapsing and enemies closed in, the emperor expressed a wish to die at Spiculus's hand rather than anyone else's. Unable to find him, he ultimately took his own life with a servant's help. While many gladiators left their legacy in scars, swords, and broken shields, Hermes was immortalized in Roman poetry. The renowned poet Martial, a central figure of the era's literary satire, dedicated verses to him, rare honors for a gladiator, praising his technique, elegance, and near-mythic skill. Hermes didn't just possess strength, he was unpredictable. In an age when most fighters specialized in a single style, Myrmio, Retiarius, or Thracian, Hermes mastered at least 3 and switched tactics to suit the opponent. That versatility made him almost impossible to read. To the public, he was a spectacle. To his rivals, a nightmare. No one knew which Hermes would step into the sand. Martial compared him to figures from myth, and with reason. Hermes fought as if performing a dance, combining physical power with calculated movement and a touch of charisma in theater. His name recurs in poems as a synonym for excellence in combat. And when a poet like Martial decides to etch you into verse, it means you've conquered more than matches. You've conquered time itself. Few contests in ancient Rome had the impact of the duel between Verus and Priscus. It wasn't remembered for brutality, but for what it symbolized. Fought in AD 80 during the inauguration of the Flavian amphitheater, the Colosseum, under Emperor Titus's watchful gaze, it was a grand occasion designed to impress the world, and both gladiators delivered more than anyone expected. According to Martial's detailed account, Verus and Priscus engaged in a balanced, prolonged fight of extraordinary technique, trading blows with precision and displaying remarkable endurance and uncommon skill. The arena, usually echoing with shouts and executions, fell into a reverent hush when the two exhausted fighters acknowledged their limit and lowered their weapons at the same time. There was no victor and no vanquished. Moved by the moment, Titus made an unprecedented decision. He awarded both men the rudis, the wooden sword that symbolized freedom. Manumission was already rare. Winning it without spilling an opponent's blood was rarer still. Receiving it together, amid the roar of the crowd, was truly legendary. Verus and Priscus became famous not for violence, but for proving that even in the harshest theater on earth, there was room for dignity, skill, and mutual respect. Fighting other men was dangerous enough, facing wild beasts bordered on suicide. Yet there was one man who not only survived, but triumphed: Carpophorus, the celebrated bestiarius. Unlike conventional gladiators, bestiarii trained to battle wild animals: lions, bears, leopards, bulls, even rhinoceroses. Entering the arena in this role was almost a death sentence, and few lived to tell of it. But Carpophorus was no ordinary man. He seemed invincible. His most famous feat took place in a single event at the Colosseum, where he stepped out before a massive crowd and brought down 20 wild beasts, one after another. The audience was stunned by such a display of courage and skill. Wearing only partial protection, he confronted raw nature head-on. In ancient Rome, mastering animals wasn't merely entertainment. It was a symbol of absolute power. Because of his strength and control, he was compared to Hercules. His name came to represent human supremacy over chaos, civilization over the untamed. For most, the arena marked the end of the road. For Crixus, it was only the beginning. A Gaul by origin, Crixus started like many others, captured, reduced to slavery, and trained to provide bloody spectacle for Rome. His sheer power made him stand out quickly. But he wasn't just brute force. His refined technique surprised even seasoned fighters. Over time, he became a prominent figure in his ludus. Yet Crixus wasn't interested in mere survival. He wanted something deeper: revenge. He became one of the key leaders of the famous breakout at Capua, together with Spartacus and about 70 companions. That escape marked the beginning of the Third Servile War, a rebellion that shook the empire to its core. While Spartacus took a strategic approach, aiming to cross the Alps and secure freedom for the enslaved, Crixus was driven by a more visceral fury. He sought to punish Rome's aristocracy. He split from the main group and marched south with thousands of followers, sacking villas, destroying property, and clashing with local militias. The price was high. In 72 BC, Crixus was intercepted by Roman legions and fell fighting bravely, surrounded by his rebel comrades. His death left a mark. Upon hearing of it, Spartacus staged a grim tribute, forcing 300 Roman prisoners to fight one another in honor of his fallen friend. A macabre inversion of roles meant to send a clear, defiant message to the heart of Rome. In a society where most gladiators shared the same origins, slaves, prisoners of war, or convicts, Marcus Attilius broke every pattern. He was a free Roman citizen. No one forced him to fight. He entered the arena voluntarily, driven by personal debts and the hope of escaping ruin. What he surely didn't imagine was that the decision would bring not only financial redemption, but eternal renown. In his first bout, he faced Hilarus, a veteran from Nero's school riding a 13-fight win streak, and, against all odds, Attilius defeated him. The shock was total. He didn't stop there. Soon after, he beat Appius Felix, another undefeated gladiator with 12 victories behind him. It was as if a rookie had defeated two world champions in the same season. These lightning strike victories raced through Rome like fire and dry grass. In 2007, archaeologists uncovered mosaics and graffiti bearing his name, etched testimony to his courage and talent in the arena. In Rome, names weren't won with promises, but with blood, sweat, and steel. And few names were forged as intensely as Attilius's. Few names ignited such passion in gladiatorial history as Flamma, Latin for flame, and he fought like one. Born in Syria and originally a soldier, he was captured and forced into the very life he would come to define. What began as a sentence became a glorious career. Armed with a short sword and shield, Flamma stood out for controlled aggression, natural magnetism, and a stamina that bordered on superhuman. Fighting in the secutor style with partial armor, enough to protect himself without losing mobility, he left areas exposed as if daring death to touch him. Over his life in the arena, he took part in 34 recorded bouts, 21 wins, 9 draws, and only 4 defeats, an exceptional record for any fighter. But what truly made Flamma a legend wasn't just his victories, it was his refusals. He was offered the rudis, the wooden sword that meant freedom, 4 times. 4 chances to leave the arena and start anew. He turned them all down. No one knows why. Some believe Flamma found purpose in combat. Perhaps it was for glory, perhaps loyalty to his ludus, or maybe inside the arena, he felt in complete control of his fate. He died at 30, remarkably old for a gladiator, and was buried with honors, his tomb preserved to this day, with an inscription that celebrates not only his name in fights, but his choice to remain in the arena, where he became living fire for history. If there's one name that eclipses all others when gladiators are mentioned, it's Spartacus. He was not merely a warrior, he was a symbol, a threat to Rome, and an emblem of freedom. A Thracian by origin, he was captured, sold as a slave, and sent to the gladiator school at Capua. Astute, brave, and charismatic, he soon stood out not only for his fighting skill, but for a rebellious spirit. In 73 BC, Spartacus and some 70 gladiators escaped with whatever they could find, even kitchen knives. That flight ignited the Third Servile War, the largest slave uprising in the history of the Roman Empire. What began as a breakout became a mass movement. Within months, the band of gladiators turned into a force of thousands, slaves, peasants, miners, united under his leadership. With keen tactical sense, Spartacus defeated multiple Roman legions, including those led by experienced consuls. Alongside Crixus, he organized a true rebel army. His plan was to cross the Alps and free his followers forever, but for reasons still debated, he returned to southern Italy, where in 71 BC, he faced the general Marcus Licinius Crassus. He was defeated. His body was never found, which only fed his legend. It's believed he died as he lived, on the front line, sword in hand. The survivors of his army were crucified along the Appian Way. More than 6,000 crosses, yet the flame of his struggle did not go out. Spartacus entered history as the ultimate symbol of resistance against tyranny. His name lives on, not only in books, but in the imagination of all who believe that freedom is worth any price. With swords drawn and feet in the sand, these men not only confronted death, at times they defeated it in ways ancient Rome would never forget. Gladiators were unlikely heroes, tragic and legendary figures whose stories outlived them. Some found glory in fame, others in freedom, and a few even in rebellion. From the alleyways of Pompeii to the ruins of the Colosseum, Their names still echo among mosaics, poems, statues, and graffiti. They weren't just fighters. They were a fusion of athletes, artists, and martyrs, admired by emperors, cheered by the people, and now immortal in history. This journey through the intertwined fates of Rome's most celebrated gladiators shows that, even from the lowest places, from slavery or exile, human beings can reach immortality. Every bout, every scar, every decision made within the arena helped forge legends that still defy oblivion today. If this voyage through the great Roman gladiators fascinated you, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And as always, may Mars guide you in battle. And if you want to know what a Roman soldier ate in 24 hours, click the thumbnail on screen. See you in the next story.